Welcome right at 11 o'clock to the EdSales Edge live. It's really amazing how this whole thing comes together every 2 weeks, no matter what we're doing at 10:58 or 10:45 or what continent we're on. We pull this thing off. John, you are back. Well, actually, my very, very good friend. Where are you? I'm not sure I know.
No, I am back in West Philadelphia. I'm on campus at Penn. That's the Annenberg School behind us. It's good to be back. Still a little jet lagged, but it was a wonderful week in Oxford, teaching the principles of entrepreneurship to the Oxford Royale students and program. So it's great to be back. It's great to see you.
Cool. Good to have you back. We are, as everybody knows, I believe, people know that we are glass half full people. I'm going to start this show off a little bit. No. Yes. We are glass half full. Yeah. I'm going to start it a little bit differently this time. And we're going to start with it half empty.
Okay.
And there is a word and a set of words that our founders have heard and other founders hear quite often, which is, we'll stick with what we have. And that generally comes after our founders in the education space have delivered a presentation that shows that they've got a fantastic product, that shows that they've got amazing outcomes. They delivered a demo based on what we think the better demo method might be, and still the school chooses what they already know. And their response is, we'll stick with what we have. And in conversations with Alvin, our producer, in conversations with myself on the treadmill, and I kind of came to this thought about being on a treadmill. Because I've been on the treadmill a lot, by the way. While I haven't started cardiac rehab, that starts the middle of August, I have been walking 3 to 4 miles a day, which is what I'm allowed to do so far. And while I might walk and I'll listen to a podcast and I'll break a little bit of a sweat and I'll get my heart rate up, I still end up back in the same place. And so there's not a lot of movement. There is a lot of work, but there's not a lot of movement. And I don't want to ding schools and say that they do not move forward. But if I put myself in the head, and I've been there, of a founder who hears, we're just going to stick with what we have, that does feel like not a lot of forward movement. Can you interpret that for me and kind of massage my thoughts out? Because you're good at that for me.
Well, thanks. And it's great to hear that you're on the treadmill. It's awesome. Getting those steps in, getting healthy, one day at a time.
One day at a time.
It's awesome. And I'll try to keep this conversation glass half full, because I think where there is a glass half empty of not at this time, we're not ready to move forward, we'll stick with what we've got, we also have evidence and we have research on what actually works, and we'll go there. But let's start with the data first, because I think you're to try to synthesize and create context around this. Ed Week came out with a study that 68% of post-pandemic ed tech products are shelfware. Never find the time of day in terms of what those ed tech products are supposed to do for teachers, administrators, and students. They literally get bought and they're on the shelf. And we talk about AI slop. I talk about ed tech slop. And so there's a lot of things that were deployed when there was, $190 billion of ESSER money through the COVID funds that came, and a lot of ed tech products were purchased and never used. That's a big statistic. And that's not just a statistic to just put out there. What is the context, or what are the implications of that statistic? And that is school districts know that they have to be very careful when they procure a product or service that it actually has measurable value and is going to deliver the outcomes intended, because funding is a lot less right now. A district can't afford to just purchase something and have it become shelfware. Another stat, 5% of post-COVID students actually use or actually are touched by an ed tech product that is purchased. 95% of the students aren't even uh, served by something that is purchased.
Wow.
And so those are actual facts. And so I like to talk about first the time-starved administrator, the time-starved teacher that needs to focus on their core job and doesn't have time to try something new out, and just the general glacial pace by which the K-12 and higher ed market moves. They are averse to risk. They tend not to be as entrepreneurial, and they tend to be much more discerning now that funding has dried up. And therefore, now to turn it on to the glass half full, it's not doom and gloom, oh, there's no room for ed tech. There's still a huge Title I, Title II, a huge market. There's a huge opportunity for AI disruption. But the question has to be, what are those iReadies, curriculum associates iReadies, that have done incredibly well in terms of proliferation in schools? What is the formula?
Right.
And the formula, which we'll get into, tends to be something we've discussed, which is has to be engaging, has to be pedagogically aligned, and it has to be easy to adopt. It has to be interoperable with integration into SIS, LMS, HRIS systems to make it very easy and seamless for a school district or a school to adopt it. And so we work a lot with our mentees and our clients and customers and stakeholders, right, Josh, to talk about what does it truly mean, not to be just engaging or just pedagogically aligned or just interoperable, but actually all three.
And I think it's reasonable to ask the question, and we are living this because our daughter is using some of these tools like iReady. Why does air quotes good enough keep winning? And I'm not taking away anything from iReady. Schools don't always select the strongest solution. They might often select the option that creates the least amount of disruption. And when we think about good enough, obviously founders do not want to hear that phrase. Our current system is good enough, our provider is good enough, our process is good enough, but good enough also has a psychological advantage within the school. And it allows the buyer to avoid this new decision that they might have to make. And so the founder, as we know, and should be presenting better results, stronger support, improved technology, greater efficiency, and a better experience. Cool. Now, the buyer has their own internal calculator that they're using, and they're thinking about who must approve this, who will implement it, who will resist it, what will teachers have to learn, what happens if adoption is weak, what will happen to stop doing this, and then if we have to stop doing it, who's going to get blamed? They've got that calculator going. So the founders are selling the upside of change, and the buyers are calculating the burden of change. Two almost opposite forces are at work. Did you face this when you were working through your business? I certainly faced it in my after-school enrichment business. My situation was that generally a badass mom decided she was bringing an after-school enrichment program when her kid was in kindergarten or first grade to the school. She brought karate. Then another parent said, can we bring pottery. Another one says yoga. Another one says this, this, this. A couple years later, she's got 20 programs she's running. And the PTA president says, you shouldn't be running this. This is a business. We're going to bring in Flex Academies. And the mom and the people who have been kind of living off the fat of that, what we used to call professional volunteer, that mom, they're like, no, 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 no change. And the PTA president's like, we're changing. So we had that, we were aligned there. Did you face that paradox, that contradiction?
Yeah, for sure. And not only with the businesses that I founded, co-founded, ran, but now with the businesses that I'm supporting in an advisor role or through my work here at Penn GSE. I hear that a lot. Let's really dramatize it more. It's not only hearing a buyer say, what we're using is good enough. How about this? We hear it a lot. What we're using is terrible. But we still can't change because of the procurement process,
Wow.
because of where that product was locked in, from district approval to board approval, to the procurement process, to how the funding was earmarked. And so there's a natural deterrent, or there's natural friction, resistance to change that is a major challenge. But when you get through it, when you manifest, features tell, benefits sell, and you're able to show why this observation evaluation platform can save time, meet compliance requirements, and actually show that teachers will grow and students will succeed. When this new VR-based math program can align to the actual instructional episodes that are happening in 8th, 9th grade algebra, and can deliver a super engaging, game-based, fun, pedagogically aligned, and easy to implement solution, you get locked in. And those are the new products and services that have bite and can sustain themselves and lead to the magic 3 letters, right, Josh? NRR, which is net recurring revenue, which is a function of renewals. Again, another stat, Ed Week, less than 50% of products that are procured renew, annual recurring revenue. Less than 50% of them actually renew year over year. Net recurring revenue is the process of renewing your contracts year over year and growing inside of a district if you're delivering pilots. And so if you can keep your NRR, net recurring revenue, at 80% or higher, and I've been working with some companies that are over 100% NRR, that's a great sign. Investors and partners and M&A targets will really look at that data and that fact.
100%. We had in a similar stat, we had a 96% retention rate with our after-school programs. I was bullish about that, and Alvin, who's listening to this show and producing, knows that I am absolutely insane about client success and our clients being happy, because we have to work so damn hard to get them that I want to keep them and I want them to be incredibly happy. Here's another uncomfortable part about this. You talk about features sell.
Features sell.
Benefits sell.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if a founder steps into features tell, they actually really shoot themselves in the foot, because a founder says your current system is outdated, or your provider is not doing enough, or the process is inefficient, or you should replace what you have. Now again, what does the person on the other side of the table hear? Attacking the current system may also feel like attacking the person who selected it. They could be sitting there. The team that implemented it, the employees who adopted it, the leader who defended it. So, you may be, unfortunately, insulting the current solution. And you might also be creating more work. the founder presents another platform, initiative, training, dashboard, meeting, process to manage to an exhausted school leader, that's just more exhaustion. So let's just remind everybody, again, my coach, Andrew Cruzy, always says sometimes we just need to be reminded. Why is it so important to talk about benefits, to talk about the transformation that occurs and not features?
How many times have we seen a demo where somebody dives in and says, I'm a former educator, I've worked in the math space for so long, and let me show you my product, and starts going through buttons and interfaces and dashboards. Those are features. Benefits get into the outcomes. Benefits get into subtly making the buyer understand how they can look good in a way that manifests their strategic plan. Reading scores are improving. Absentee is improving. Chronic absenteeism. Retention of teachers, time-starved and exhausted teachers is improving.
Right.
And I want to say, too, more context on features tell, benefits sell. An important lesson that I've learned, an important coaching that I provide some of the founders that I work with, and that is having an inquiry, not a declaratory mindset. You hit it, Josh, perfectly. You need to move on from that system because mine is better. That's a declaration. Most of the systems in this space deliver X, Y, and Z. What if I told you I would be able to deliver ZZ faster, better, and more cost effectively? Would that be something that you'd be interested in seeing? See, I didn't declare you need to move on from that antiquated compliance-based observation evaluation platform. I disclosed that you made that decision because you are required compliance, you are mandated to provide X, Y, and Z. But if I told you that the research shows that most people who use those systems aren't happy, and I could deliver a system that was going to be more engaging and lead to better outcomes, and prove to you or show to you how that's worked with other colleague districts within your center of excellence, your area where you're presenting your product, would that be compelling? Very, very different style, very disarming, and an important nuance to how people prospect and sell.
The schools, they also often calculate the cost and risk of change without calculating the long-term cost of staying the same.
Yeah.
Which, it's interesting when I say that out loud, I think about us as entrepreneurs, who are just like, move on, go, try it, not something new, let's fail, let's go. And this is where the conversation has to shift. Schools are very good at calculating this cost of changing. What does it cost? How long will it take? But again, the cost of staying the same. Depending on the solution, these costs could include staff time, teacher frustration, weak adoption, missed learning outcomes, declining enrollment, low participation, the list goes on. We do not want people to manufacture fear. I've never been about that in either of my businesses. It's not about exaggerating pain. We want to help the person we're talking to, the buyer, examine the full decision. So if the cost of staying the same remains invisible, the cost of changing will always look too high. If the cost of staying the same remains invisible, the cost of changing will always look too high. So some better questions that people could ask, and maybe if you have a pen and paper, what is the current process requiring from your team? Where does the most friction show up? What has become normal that should not be normal? What is the team compensating for manually? What happens if this looks exactly the same next year? Who feels the consequences most directly? So which questions that I just listed there, maybe you've got some, do you think some of our listeners could use to ask an institutional leader so that they could uh, have them examine the status quo without putting them in a tough position?
I'll add one. All of your questions are ones that I would ask. I think they're great. How are you feeling about AI?
Hmm.
Real important one. And that kind of encompasses all of the questions you asked, because AI has become so disruptive. What was 6 months ago an important word, I better be using AI, has now become, I better not be using AI. And so it's on the minds of all your buyers. You have to ask the question and go as far as saying, can you tell me a little bit about your AI policies within your district? Talk to me about um, opportunities and potentially concerns regarding privacy and security and overuse and screens. And having that conversation, because most of our founders are also bound by 6 months ago, they were designing and building with AI and they were talking about it. And now they have to deal with the consternation related to it. And those that do that well and skate that line and ride that line are, uh, it could make the difference between success and failure, or a 1, 2, 3 call close, and something that extends off. Oh, that's a little bit too risky for me. I'm not sure that aligns with our AI policy. I'll give you an example. A couple of companies like SwiftScore, who I've been working with, that does this really well, will quietly and softly knows what the AI policy is at that school or that district, asks how they're feeling about it, and then doesn't say anymore AI powered, talks about the optimization of the innovation and the platform in terms that a school district or a buyer can embrace. It will save you time. That's table stakes. It will maintain compliance. But what we're really after is agency. We're really after teachers being able to use the teacher portal to do their own self-evaluation so that they can get better. We know teachers need to have agency. We know that teachers who are armed with good tools want to teach better and don't need to be babysat. Oh, that starts to open the eyes. That doesn't sound like the normal. But he doesn't say this is AI powered. Also, dipping your toe in the water, I think, is really important. Districts in my world now, Josh, and to answer your questions on the questions that you should ask that will lead to positive results, tends to be, we know AI is out there. We know we have to be careful with its use. We know we have to leverage the power and promise while addressing the perils, security, privacy. What if this was something that you could dip your toe in the water, show that you're using AI effectively, measurably, but not taking the associated risks that could get you into hot water?
Right.
That's interesting, because I do think that AI is unavoidable and is a force to be reckoned with. But to, excuse me, deliver it, implement it with fidelity, deliberately, I think is really important.
Yeah, I like that. Um, One important part of this discussion and your experience with a school is finding somebody who's your champion. The way I describe that champion to the companies that we work with in the Ed Sales Revenue Machine is quite simply the person whose life you change the most. And in most cases in K-12, it's not the kid, it's the adult that you're talking to in front of you. So the next time somebody like that, the champion, says, we'll stick with what we have, I encourage, I think I can speak for you, that we do not, we hope that people will not immediately defend the product. Also, don't lower the price, don't launch into another demo, slow down the conversation. Slow down the conversation. And we've got this 4-step framework that I'll walk through and then get your reaction. The 4-step framework is, first of all, respect what exists. Possible language. That makes sense. You have a system in place, and changing anything in a school environment carries weight. Number 2, understand what they value. To your point, ask, What is working best about the current approach? And this is going to reveal what needs to be protected. Explore the friction. Ask, what does the current approach, where does the current approach still create work, inconsistency, or frustration for your team? Number 4, examine the future. Ask them, if nothing changes over the next year, what does that mean for the priority you are trying to move forward? And this makes the cost of standing still very visible for them. What would you add or subtract to that 4-step framework?
Those are excellent. And I think those are generally accepted by me. And I think that your mentees, your customers, clients should really heed that. As you were reading them, I started thinking about how did I get from 100,000 to $1 million to $30 million in ARR through the lens of those 4 questions. And one of the things that I think can be added, a number 5, is take one of your customers, even if it's a pilot customer, even if it's a non-monetized customer who really likes it. Brooke in Vermont. Susan Enfield I used to do this all the time with, who's now the executive director, head of Center for Education Leadership in University of Washington. Sandy Husk, these are the icons that I used to work with. If I could deliver a service to and get them to buy, that I could use them because they would be happy with what I provided. Clayton Wilcox. And when you're having those 4 questions, you're going through those 4 questions and you're having that conversation, know if they think like Susan Enfield. Susan Enfield used to be a student first superintendent. You'd have to be able to show how, by implementing this ed tech product, that it delivered on student agency, that it delivered on student engagement, that it delivered on motivation. And so I'd often have conversations that say, as we were deploying this at Highline in Washington, one of the things that Susan Enfield really liked about it, see what I did there, is that she polled her students and the students came back and said, I really like using this. And when I'm talking to a prospect and I know that student first, portrait of a graduate, is in the strategic plan, it's not me saying it, it's me using an existing client or using a testimonial or using a success story to build validation and credibility. Sandy Husk, who is Clarksville, Montgomery County Schools before she moved out to Oregon, did her thing. One of the best superintendents I've ever worked with. Was financially, she was an animal. And I knew that if I delivered a solution, it needed to pass muster in terms of making financial sense. There had to be a return on investment. One of the things that Sandy Husk liked about this, when I'm talking to another prospect, is that as they were doing their audit year over year, they were able to show how by implementing this, chronic absenteeism went down 1%, then 3%, then 8%. And we gave her a report that she could give to her board that showed by implementing this solution, it actually works. So it's a testimonial based, it's using success stories, it's being conversational about knowing that that prospect would respect the account testimonial, success story from that colleague superintendent. And using that, I think, was important in a tangible way. And you gotta be careful about that. You don't wanna throw around names, right?
Of course.
And notice I didn't say, well, you should call Sandy Husk because she'll tell you how great this is. No. One thing that Sandy Husk liked about this is very different from saying call her.
Right. That approach, I use that word carefully, that careful approach that you just mentioned is something that maybe our listeners can think about. If they want to challenge themselves this week, think about one of the deals where the buyer has stalled, delayed, or said they're sticking with what they have, and stop essentially asking how to push the deal harder. Ask what momentum is missing. We've given you a 4-step framework plus one, which it may be, to John's point, done the right way. There's a superintendent who is using it this way and having this success. Just thought you might want to know that. It gives them a little bit of momentum. It gives them some validation. So, John, as we wrap up here, we're 30 minutes in. I want to give you a minute or two to mention the event coming up where you are sitting. I'm proud to be a sponsor, really excited about it. It's going to be my first step back into the conference ring because I'm taking the summer off. So tell us about the event in September.
Yeah, we have our annual Innovation Summit and Milken Education Business Plan Competition finals on September 14th. And it's an all-day event. We have some amazing speakers. Many of our audience are on our newsletter, and they should be receiving one or two announcements or updates every week. We'll have Alvin drop it into the chat, or we'll follow up. And I know you're going to be doing some promotion on it, but keep an eye out for announcements. It's the annual Penn GSE Innovation Summit focused on research to practice, research practice partnerships. You'll be speaking, you'll have a breakout. The great Ed Metz will be there. He'll be speaking, he'll be on a panel. We have all of our center directors, Dr. Michael Golden, Laura Papero, Tim Fox, representing the Center for School Study Councils, John Wilson, who represents our McGraw Center for Education Leadership.
Nice.
Just really some exciting speakers, and hope people come out. And the whole day will culminate with the annual 17th annual Milken Penn GSE Business Plan Competition, giving away over $200,000 in cash and prizes. Fantastic semifinalists and finalists that are rolling through our program and will be pitching on stage on September 14th.
Can't wait to be there in person. On our end, this morning, overnight, we crossed over 800 members of the entourage. We're at 801 members of the entourage. It's really exciting for the community. It's exciting for our team. We'll put some information in the notes here from this show of how people can join the entourage. The entourage is 801 members strong of people in the education space, founders, teacherpreneurs, people who are just getting started, people who have made millions upon millions of dollars who are selling into education, and they're looking for that edge. They're looking for that path. They're looking for that community of people to build with. And
congratulations. That's really awesome, and it's not easy. It's a real testament to the message. It's a testament to the community. It's a testament to people who are reaching out and posting and saying you got to become part of this. It's fantastic. Congratulations. Growing fast, man. It's great, especially during your time and the time that I think it's also, a testament to Alvin and the team and people who, are on this movement with you, that nothing slowed down when you had a big backup.
Actually, my friend, it was just the opposite.
Yeah, it's great.
And I can't see Alvin's face as he is our producer here, but he should be smiling because for Kim, for Alvin, for Tets, for Jeff, for Ken, for Jenny, for Jacob, for Andre, when I went out with my triple bypass surgery, this business got bigger, better, stronger. And that's a whole other story for us to unpack on the EdSales Edge.
It's called The Shadow of the Leader, my friend.
Okay. All right. Well, now we have a title to it.
Title to it, maybe that could be an episode.
How
to develop a shadow of the leader.
Never heard that one. John Gamba never ceases to amaze me. Beauty and brains every single time. Thank you, John, for joining. Appreciate you being back on this side of the ocean. We'll see you soon.
Talk soon.
Thank you, everybody.